Welcome back to ProGuides Summoners. Today we're going to be going over split pushing for the season 2021. These split pushing tips have been tested out by our challenger instructors, and we'll be going over the types of split pushing, doing it with and without TP, what you need to take into account when you split push, some situations you will probably see in your games, and when not to split push. Don't forget to sub to our YouTube channel for more guides like these. To start this guide off, it's often good to understand why we split push and the types of split pushing. The main reasons for split pushing are pretty obvious: to create pressure and obtain all the solo gold and experience from a lane. Although depending on how far ahead or behind your team is or what the nature of your champions is, you might be more or less inclined to split push. For example, if you are playing on a team that's behind and you are playing Fiora that is doing well against your opponent, you might want to consider split pushing. This tries to relieve pressure off your team, and as Fiora, you can still be scary in a 1v2 scenario if you are not too far behind. Plus, you have a good escape with your Q and a CC negate with your W. We'll be going more into this later, but now that we've talked a little bit about when to split push, let's talk about the types of split pushing. Generally speaking, there are two types, 1-4 and the 1-3-1. There are still some fundamental differences in strategy and goals between these two types of split pushing. The 1-3-1 split push aims to create pressure in every lane on the map and is often a strong strategy when you have a strong duelist top and an assassin bot, both of whom want to isolate and kill enemy team members. It's generally very inefficient to try to only go for farm in one lane, as that means you're splitting the gold and experience between you and your teammates. Trying to effectively catch all 3 lanes worth of minions more often is always a good way to get ahead of your enemy. Generally, in low elo, A-ramming down mid happens frequently. Try not to get drawn into that trap, and instead, don't let those side lane minions go to waste, and get a large amount of experience and gold lead on the side waves, joining your team when you need to, and making sure you make the plays. The 1-4 split push strategy is very strong when creating pressure for neutral objectives, and is the more openly used one where one laner goes to a lane on the opposite side of the map where a neutral objective is about to be contested. This is a very strong strategy as it creates a dilemma for the enemy team. Do they respond to your pressure and send members of their team to stop you? Or do they all respond to the Baron pressure and let you have your way in the lane? Either way, the enemy team will lose something: Baron pressure or golden experience from a lane and possibly a turret. This can evolve into a dance where you will have to watch out because the enemy team might try to posture to hard engage your team at Baron when you are at their inhibitor, or they might send a strong carry with teleport your way to stop you. Either way, looking at the minimap in this scenario is very crucial, and we'll be going over vision later in the video. Now let's talk about split pushing with or without teleport. With TP, you have a lot of freedom to do as you please in your lane, meaning you can go for a lot of turret pressure and still be able to join your team in no time in case of a fight. Ideally, therefore, you want to choose a lane furthest away from a potential fight to split push in, as you want the enemy team to be unable to rotate to your split push whilst looking for a fight elsewhere. Just be sure you're far away enough from enemies with crowd control abilities, so that in case you TP, they don't interrupt you. That would be slightly awkward. Now that we've covered splitting with TP, let's talk about splitting without TP, which is a lot more shackled. This is because you can't instantly join your team without teleport, which means you have to either push the wave and then join your team, or commit to a split push and possibly trade objectives. In the case of an objective that is not vital for you to take to win the game, you can still commit to split pushing the furthest lane away from that objective, but you need to keep in mind that you are trading objectives because of this. That means that you will have to take a turret to compensate. In an instance where an objective is vital to take for your team to win the game, the best you can do without teleport is to push out the lane furthest away and then join your team for the objective fight. Now that we've talked about split pushing with or without teleport, let's talk about the execution of split pushing in game. First, let's talk about matchups. If you're looking to split push, you will need to be able to 1v1 basically anyone on the enemy team, because if you get forced into a fight and lose when the enemy team still has TP up, that puts your team in a very bad scenario. Always be sure that the enemy team cannot catch you out in a 1v1 scenario that you would lose, and keep in mind their engagement tools as well. This is why duelist champions are more often used to split pushing and are usually a menace to deal with, because if they're ahead of their lane opponent, you truly need more than one person up there to stop them from crashing down at your base. These champions often include Fiora, Tryndamere, and Yorick. Speaking of which, for our question of the day, what's your favorite split pushing champion? We're really excited to see what everyone is using to split push nowadays in the comments below. That being said, let's get back to the topic of split pushing. It's not your job to 1v1 somebody while you're split pushing. It's to gain experience and gold whilst creating pressure. So let's talk about timing when split pushing. If you're thinking about split pushing and an objective is about to come up, think to yourself if you can make it to the lane in time to push it to their tower before the objective comes up. If the answer is no, then you shouldn't split push in that scenario, and this is why. Imagine if you did and you just arrived into your lane, but are not at their tower or even close yet. The enemy team sees this and commits to a fight at Dragon, to which you have to TP to. This is bad because you could have easily just walked to the Dragon and participated in that fight rather than going top and wasting teleport. Plus, you didn't achieve the split pushing objectives, which are to gain gold and create pressure in a lane. This is why timing your split pushing is very important when you're thinking about what to do next in your games. Next, let's talk about vision. Vision is very important when split pushing, as you are aiming to be on the enemy side of the map, which makes you vulnerable to being caught out and killed easily. There are some simple tricks to help you not get caught when split pushing that do not require warding. Tracking where the enemies are and how long ago you saw them there is the most important thing to do when split pushing, as it allows you to gauge the threat posed to you. There's a simple way to do this, and that is to see if there are at least 4 enemies on the minimap away from you, and then, if there are, you're safe. If there are at least 3 that you see, then you need to be careful. If there are less than 3, then you need to play safe or go all the way back to your side of the map. Just be sure you don't get rotated on from behind either. If the enemy team is crashing their mid-inner tower and you're crashing their inner top tower, they can easily come for you after they're done. This is why checking the minimap often is very important to do your job correctly. Warding whilst split pushing is a luxury and can add some levels of security to your positioning whilst pushing your lane. I'd recommend, if you did want to ward, to try to do so once you enter the enemy side of the map with your wave. This way you don't need to walk too far to and from your wave, and you add some nice intel in their jungle just in case the enemy does decide to rotate to you. If your team pays attention, you can even catch someone because of the information your ward provides you. Now let's talk about wave management whilst split pushing. Sometimes it's too dangerous to try and fast push waves to try to get to their turret to pressure it. This is because either you are too far behind for that and the enemy laner can come and try to kill you on their side of the map. Or it's because there is no neutral objective on the map that any team can do, and therefore they can easily rotate to you on their side of the map and try to kill you. Or it's even because fast pushing could end up in a freeze on their side of the map that you can't break because of the previous 2 reasons. In these scenarios, try to let the wave push to the middle or your side of the map for a much safer spot that comes with an escape route to your turrets. Then you try to freeze the wave until such a time when pushing it is needed again. For example, when a neutral objective is about to come up, or you see both teams grouping bottom for a siege fight. Freezing might not grant you too much pressure, but it's basically pushing to your death in these situations, and you still get gold and experience that way. Just be sure to resume adding pressure to your lane once it's safe. Only sitting by and freezing whilst your team fights a 4v5 with no repercussions for the enemy team is not exactly an ideal scenario for you. So let's summarize today's video. We went over why we split push and the types of split pushing, how to split push with and without teleport, timing your split pushes with neutral objectives, vision, and how to watch your minimap, and how to manage your wave whilst split pushing. Use these tips wisely in your ranked matches, and you will be guaranteed to find more success split pushing. If you have to remember one thing from this video, it's that always keep in mind what objectives you are trying to accomplish with your split push. Try to be as efficient as possible. That's everything we have for you today in this video. Make sure to keep in mind these tips and you will do better in your ranked games in this early season. Remember to answer the question of the day in the comments below, sub to the channel if you like the content, and join our Discord channel, which is linked in the description below. Be sure to also check out our website, ProGuides.com, for personalized one-on-one coaching and more in-depth guides like this. As always, good luck on the Rift, stay hydrated, and wash those hands, gamers.